Hello out there in YouTube land.
Welcome back to our channel.
We thought we would do something a little bit different and actually do a get ready with me.
Yeah, this is kind of, when we wake up in the morning.
I think this is literally the first one of these we've ever done for the channel.
It is. I feel a little naked right now.
Yeah, it doesn't seem right. I mean, everybody's seeing like all of our redness, the whole 9 yards.
Welcome to rosacea.
This is what we have to cover on a daily basis.
Yes. So, kind of, we'll walk through what we're using as we use it.
Yeah, and then we're just kind of gonna chat with you all because we don't actually have a subject for this. We had a couple people want to know like how we put on our makeup every day, so we're like, well, we'll just do a get ready with me, and then they get to see us both at the same time. Easy peasy, bada bing, bada boom.
Sometimes we don't wear makeup every day.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's just, I wake up a little way too early before the birds, and I don't feel like putting on my makeup every day, but when I do, this is how we do it.
Okay, so like everybody else, we start with primer.
Right. So I have the Milk primer.
Hydro Grip, I think it's called.
Yep, it's the Hydro primer.
And I'm using the Ulta Beauty Poreless Face Primer. Just
and forgive the mirrors. I'm blind as a bat some days, so...
Yeah. Her eyes are better than mine.
They are.
So that's a plus.
For now.
Yeah. Couple years down the road, you'll probably be where I'm at. You know, it's kind of funny when you start getting older, you start looking at those devices that they have in certain catalogs, like the half magnifying glass things that you can flip up and down to put your makeup on. And, you know, when I was younger, I thought it was funny, and now I'm like, that's not a bad idea.
It's amazing how things change.
Yes.
I mean, we're not that old, but we're also not in
That
our
young?
20s anymore.
No. Sometimes I miss my 20s, and then other times I'm just like, I'm kind of glad I'm through it. There seems to be a little bit of less nonsense as you get older. And what I mean by nonsense is that you're not kind of so wrapped up in what your friends do and do not want to do and things like that. As you get older, you get to the point where you kind of, well, if you don't want to do something, you just say you don't want to do it, and, you know, it's usually okay in the group of friends that, you know, they'll all go off and do whatever it is they want to do, and you don't have to do that one thing, so...
So with me, I have to wait for mine to dry a little bit longer.
I have to wait for mine to dry too, because otherwise I've noticed that this silly skin I've got, if I don't let any primer dry 100%, then like the oil comes through and like melts everything off.
It comes right off.
It's awful. I'm just being lazy today and using the L'Oreal Infallible in shade 400. I'm being totally lazy. I completely admit it.
So I'm trying the Clinique Even Better Refresh in the shade Custard. It's the latest one they have in that line.
We're still in the quest for favorite foundation.
And it is marketed to be like a full coverage, hydrating and repairing makeup foundation, so...
And she actually did rub it on our clothes and stuff, and it didn't transfer.
It doesn't transfer. I mean, I literally scrubbed my arm against my clothes and it doesn't transfer.
That was a good plus.
Who knew Jeffree Star Mirror could be extra as a fan?
Yeah. Hey, we should, like, tweet him and say, hey, you know, it's good for hot flashes?
Yeah, really?
He'd get a good chuckle out of that, I figure.
He'd get a good chuckle or be horribly disturbed.
I think it'd be hard to disturb him, honestly.
I do too, but it would be great to have a conversation with him.
I would love to do that. I really would. He just seems like he's such a fun person.
So I get really frisky in the mornings. I actually do like little designs on my face.
That's cool. I don't think I've ever done that.
It's my ADHD. I get a little bored.
My ADHD gets in there with the trying to cover every single bit of redness, but at the exact same coverage.
And one thing that, I worry about a lot is my redness being covered, but also what am I doing to my face?
Yeah. Because some of these ingredients that are in some of these foundations are not the best for your skin.
They really aren't. especially if you have rosacea, your skin tends to be a little more sensitive to things. And I actually have a gel treatment for it, which, don't step out in the sun if you use Metro Gel.
Not that we are in the sun much anyway, but...
We're not in the sun much, but it makes you feel a little bit more like a vampire. Because it is very prone to making you burn more.
Yeah.
And one thing that I didn't check with this foundation, oftentimes Clinique will put in a sun protection. I don't see this per se.
It may not have an SPF in it, which would mean that you'd probably need to use a primer that had SPF or an actual separate SPF.
Right.
But I've been having problems finding an SPF that doesn't make my skin turn into a grease ball.
I found one not too long ago, and for the life of me, I can't remember what that brand is. And of course I ran out of it because I go through SPF in the spring and summer like it's a commodity. I miss my 20-year-old skin.
Yes. I will say that. I miss the days when I didn't have to do anything, had nothing to really cover up. When we were younger, I mean, I know I can answer for me, I don't know about you, but I didn't have all this extensive redness all the time.
I did not. I was as pale as the day is long. And very rarely, like, the only thing I really had to use was a concealer.
Yeah.
I didn't have to do a full coverage foundation.
And, the only time, I did, major foundation back in the day was either if I was, going out to a club and, super duper, doing some extensive look, or if I was, going to a special occasion or something.
Yeah.
Other than that, I didn't mess with it. I probably wear makeup on days more often than Tabby does since I don't have eyebrows. But even at that, it's kind of a depends on the day thing. Some days I don't care, other days I do. And I think a lot of that, while it's common now for a lot of goths not to have eyebrows, for me, it's not so much about being goth, it's the fact that since mine all fell out, it's kind of a itchy point, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so, it kind of changes your perspective when you lose something that you didn't mean to lose.
And I tint mine daily. Just using, any type of pomade that really works, like today I'm using Anastasia. Trying to get some really odd looks. Because my eyebrows, where they get shaped and kind of waxed and such, have started going blonde. Which is a common thing. Your hair gets a little bit lighter after waxing. So, I tend to tint my eyebrows. Because otherwise it looks like I don't have any.
And this is a really bad eyebrow day for me.
Not the best one for me over here, but it's working.
That's why it's good to have lots and lots and lots of concealer.
So a lot of times we will not redo something so much as we'll just cover it up.
Because honestly, we don't have time in the morning to, redo things, usually. We have, I know I usually, on average, have roughly a half an hour to get things done. And that's it.
I have about a half an hour, and that's including my hair.
So, it's kind of a... Well, you get it done the best way you can, as fast as possible, and that's how you do it. You don't really... And even with that, there's some days that my makeup still looks like crap. That's the truth.
For us, it is what it is. So, we tend to just kind of go with the flow.
It's like, you know, a lot of people have bad hair day. We have bad makeup days. Specifically, bad eyebrow days.
We do get a lot of those, don't we?
Yeah. We tend to call them that. It's kind of funny, actually, if you think about it, but that is kind of our catchphrase. Like, is it a good eyebrow day or a bad eyebrow day?
So on a daily basis, it just depends on what I'm wearing as to what I put on. I do a lot of nude colors, and then I may accent with something darker.
I mean, it's more of a kind of a just a general what I'm in the mood for type thing, but I have that freedom because since I work at home, you know, it's kind of a less of an issue in terms of like, you know, in a workplace they don't always want you wearing bright colors and all that stuff. So,
Right.
you know, it gets a little interesting sometimes.
Now, usually I have at least something going on in the background in the morning, so I'll put on, you know, video on my tablet or something and just be watching it.
But instead, today we're talking to you guys.
We're yammering to all of you. So what are your morning routines? What do you start with? How do you go about your day?
Do you have anything unusual that you do in the morning? I know my morning is usually pretty sedate. Like, you know, it's just get up, take medicine, grab something really quick to eat, because my medicine, like, can cause stomach upset and whatnot. And then I get on the computer, and then usually I check in with Tabby to see how she's doing. And then after that, I get my shower, and then pretty much either go to appointments, or have meetings, or, you know, and then if I'm lucky, I actually have time to write. That doesn't seem to be happening very often these days. Unfortunately.
My mornings are usually get up, go through the morning aches, pains, cracks, pops. I sound like a Rice Krispie, you know,
Yeah.
bowl of cereal in the mornings anymore.
I think once you pass 35, that's kind of the trend. Truthfully.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
The only thing that ever worries me is if something pops that really shouldn't pop.
Yeah, there was this one time that Tabby and I were like kind of talking about some of the old ballet stuff we used to do, and she was in the kitchen at a townhouse I used to live in. And she did a tendu, which is literally just sliding your foot across the floor and then pointing your toe. And the bone in her shin popped. And it was so loud, it was like a gunshot. And I was scared to death. I thought I was going to have to take her to the ER or something. And no, she wasn't hurt at all. It just popped.
I just kind of looked at her and said, that's normal. Whether it's supposed to be normal or not, I don't know. But it's normal for me.
Now, for me, the weird things that I have happen is, let's see, knee grind.
Yes.
If you've ever taken dance, you'll know what knee grind is. Essentially, what happens is that most of the cartilage in your knees kind of gets messed up and stuff from the different dance moves. And so you literally can hear, like, the bones grind against each other, which is just a wonderful, lovely thing.
It's, yeah. Welcome to getting older, ladies and gentlemen.
Dun, dun, dun.
So I'm using the Lolita Porvita palette just, you know, on my eyes. It's one of my everyday palettes.
I'm using the Urban Decay heat palette, Naked Heat palette.
Which is a really good one.
It is.
It's just stunning.
I end up using it as an everyday palette quite a lot, which, you know, while it's a nude palette, it also adds a pop of color. And while it might seem counterproductive to use a palette that has a lot of warm tones and oranges and reds in it with my skin tone, it actually somehow works. I'm not exactly sure how it works, but it does. And so it's kind of an everyday go-to for me. And plus, it's also one of my favorite palettes for another reason. It was my final chemo infusion gift from Tabby, actually. So it has a kind of special place in my heart, because Tabby got it for me to finally be done with all the yuck.
You needed a happy at that point.
Yeah.
Because as many of you know, chemo is incredibly difficult for a person. And it's a battle in and of itself. So, you know, celebrating that is necessary.
Kind of in case anyone was wondering, like, when you start to recover from chemo, because there's actually a process to recover, everyone's kind of different. Some people have, like, severe fatigue for a long time. I didn't really have that. Other people have a lot of neuropathy, which can appear in, like, numbness of your fingers and toes, or, you know, or it can also be, like, kind of weird, like, almost like electrical impulse pain points just at random times. And I do have some of that. And I do have some numbness, but it's not, like, horribly severe. It's just certain things I can't do anymore or not do as well.
I know some of you are probably watching me. I use my fingers a lot too with eyeshadows.
And
as well as brushes.
Like we've talked before, you know, we are not sticklers in the way that you accomplish your makeup look. Everybody has different preferences.
Absolutely.
And just as long as you get, like, a really cool look at the end, who really cares how you use it, just as long as you're clean with your hands and everything? It's not like you're causing any problems, so... Now, granted, that's with working on yourself. If you're working on someone else, then of course you have to follow a specific protocol in terms of cleanliness and stuff. You don't want to share brushes. You don't want to do any of that because you can actually, like, transfer infections and things like that. But, in general, there really isn't, you know, a huge issue with using your fingers with makeup.
And I tend to do my eyeliner, you know, after my eyeshadow. I get my eyes done first. And some people will start without putting their foundation on. I find that I have to because I use it on my eyes to kind of help set my eyeshadow.
And I have a lot of trouble doing it prior to because of the eyebrow issue. If I don't have the eyebrows on first and then try and do a look and then put the eyebrows on top, it's harder for me to see where to place the guide dots to get my eyebrows even. So that's why I put on foundation and stuff first a lot instead of doing it the opposite way.
Having my girly moment over here.
Girly moments are fun.
And I'll go back and touch up, you know, as I'm working, I'll touch up around my eye or, you know, something like that. It's...
Or, you know, we'll just grab something and play with it or something. You know, we do have ADHD.
We do. And sometimes the top liner will go on a little bit thick. Some people will go in with the little tool to reduce the lines. I tend to go in and just kind of correct it with my eyeshadow, whatever is on my lid at the time.
Yep, you can see the classic fallout underneath mine.
Hooded eyes are notorious.
They are. I mean, if you can manage to do looks with hooded eyes without getting some type of fallout, I really, really, really give props to you because 9 times out of 10 I end up with something.
And during the day, I don't go really heavy under my eye with
No.
eyeshadow. It's just not something I do.
One thing I will say about getting older that kind of drives me a little bit bonkers is the fact that if you're one of the people that gets like kind of the sunken area underneath your eye as well as the
Yes.
colors, it drives me nuts.
Yeah, it's...
Because, like, certain directions you move your face, you'll still see, and it looks like you have a shadow there when you actually don't, and sometimes I end up reapplying extra concealer thinking that I didn't get it covered or something, and here it's just the, like, little lumpy area. That's kind of funny. This bloody Black Moon palette is still hard to open.
It's very hard to open. It's a beautiful palette, but it is so hard to get open. I don't know why.
It seems like it technically should be very easy, but it just... Something about the way the plastic is designed to hook together, it just sticks, and it's so hard to get open.
So one thing I found that I don't like to watch while I'm putting my makeup on in the morning is the news.
Oh, that'll make you jerk your arm to look at something more than anything else, and then you have a disaster on your hands.
I don't know how many times I have literally stared at the television rather than putting my makeup on. And then I forget where I'm at with it.
That's easy to do, actually. Forget where you're at. You wouldn't think it would be, but it is easy to do. So I had an interesting experience the other week.
Okay.
I had somebody decide that they're going to inform me that I should buy this random cheap eyebrow product from Amazon to quote-unquote make my eyebrows look more natural. And they themselves don't know how to do makeup.
That's a little disturbing.
Yeah, and I was like, well, you know, I technically could do, like, you know, little hairs and stuff if I wanted to. But, you know, I kind of like the look I've got. And then she just reiterated, she's like, well, you could make them look more natural if you use this device. And I'm like, have you used it? And she's like, no, I saw it on an ad. And I'm like, okay. So that was an oddity.
It's an oddity that, you know, it harkens back to, I had a product and it was kind of like pieces of a lash.
Mm-hmm.
Like tiny little pieces that you would just use to extend. It was a mess. Like, you think Jeffree Star, I think he did a review on something very similar. It was a mess for him too. Made me feel better.
Yeah, if he can't do it, then you know you're okay.
Then I know I haven't failed completely at makeup.
And, you know, it's not that I don't like it when somebody, like, tries to give me advice or something. Because I'm more than willing to find out new products or, you know, a different technique or something. But when it's someone that doesn't know what they're doing that gives advice, then I have a problem with it. And this person I actually know, and I know they don't mess with makeup at all.
And honestly, it's a little bit insulting when you go to the effort to work on yourself and work on, you know, everything that you're doing.
And someone makes a comment like that.
Yeah. Because you could very easily take pomade and draw the individual hairs and make it look, you know, more, whatever, more natural means to that person. But now my debate every day, every single day.
Which color?
Which color to go on the lips. And that is actually dictated by what I'm doing. So, for more neutral days, since we're doing kind of our everyday, you know, get ready, I'm going to work, everything else, I usually stick to my nude palettes for lips.
That's one thing I do wish that they would do, is perfect these wands for eyeliner to where you didn't have to shake them before use.
Mm-hmm.
That would be helpful. I understand that it's probably because of the formula they have to make it to where you shake it in order to mix everything together again. But I wish you didn't have to. There we go, one of my little makeup wishes.
Yes.
The reason why? Sometimes I forget.
Now, one thing I do, and what I used to do, I didn't use setting spray, so I would always set my makeup with powder.
Mm-hmm.
Now I do both. Because as I'm working through the day, I find that I absolutely have to have a setting spray of some sort.
I know some people say that setting spray does not help your makeup last longer, but we find it does for us.
And I think that harkens back to your physiology in a lot of ways.
Yeah. And, you know, it could be that you just have not found one that works well for you, or it could just be that, for whatever reason, your skin doesn't melt off with it, or melts off with anything. You know, it just depends. We're all a little different.
Now, on the everyday stuff, I might use a highlighter. I may not. Today I'm not. I tend to use more highlighters in the summer.
That makes sense, because usually you're kind of walking around with kind of a sheen to your skin and whatnot.
And I use them in the winter, like, you know, before Christmas and stuff. Just
Mm-hmm.
kind of that icier look. So I use a variety of products. I use a lot for my powder and foundations. I use Clinique. It's more gentle on my skin. It doesn't really irritate my rosacea. Now, normally, if I know I'm going to have to present or go to a conference, I will use all-nighter setting spray.
That stuff does help a lot.
But my go-to every day is kind of Wet n Wild and the coconut, because I like the scent.
And it actually is a decent setting spray. It does have a very, very mild bit of a sheen to it. So it does, if you're someone that already has kind of oily skin and you use this on top of it, then your foundation is going to get oily pretty fast. Or oily looking very fast. But she and I tend to have a little bit of drier skin combined with oil, which is kind of interesting.
Yes.
So the Wet n Wild still works, but if it's something that I know that I need to have makeup last for like 12 or 14 hours, then I definitely use the all-nighter.
Yeah. So here is the everyday Tabby.
And here's the everyday me. So, you know, that's how we do it, you know, if we're going to wear makeup during the day.
Right.
And thanks for, you know, spending time with us and having fun. So we will see you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.